Hello, 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 and welcome back to Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I appreciate your time. I truly do. If this is your first time stopping by Kim Talks Resilience, let me tell you what you're in for. What we do here at Kim Talks Resilience is we invite leaders, speakers, coaches, and authors, women who are stepping out in front to share stories of inspiration and insight because we all know success leaves clues. So that's what we do here. If you're returning, wow, I big thank you. Super excited that you're coming back to us. And you know what? Our entire goal is to help women step out in front, have the strength that, their story deserves, that the people around them need to hear, that the services can offer and help other women go the next level. Because that's all about. All it's about is how do we continue to move forward? So I'm excited today. We have a great gal on. Glad I'm not in the same room because this girl could totally take me down. You wait. She's got not only an incredible work history in what she does, but she can totally make it happen. Let me tell you who she is. Alicia Butler Pierre is the founder and CEO of Equilibria Inc. She is a 15 years operations management firm. She specializes in increasing bandwidth for fast growing organizations via business infrastructure. Alicia has a BS in chemical engineering from Louisiana State University and an MBA from Tulane University. And get this, a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification. Combined with her content now has over 750,000 views across various platforms. Now, Alicia hosts a weekly business infrastructure show called Curing Back Office Blues podcast. And we're going to get into that too. She's also the author of a 2 times best-selling Amazon best-selling book, Behind the Facade: How to Structure Company Operations for Sustainable Success. Committed to doing the right thing the right way, Alicia's mantra is to leave it better than you found it. So, like I said, success leaves clues. Let's bring her in here. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, early risings, Kim. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today.
I am excited. I'm excited. I once for a TV show. I'm one of these people on the TV show. I took a karate class. It was not pretty. They had to pre-chop the wood block, but on the show, I broke it in half. So I'm totally impressed. I'm totally impressed. When I know you because you don't look very big. You look like you're quite petite. How tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
Okay,
Five
so you
feet
are
two
quite
inches tall.
petite. Okay, and I'm 5'8". So I'm
Oh,
about
really?
two of you, and I'm pretty sure you could take me down.
No,
So
I doubt it.
it's always fun over these digital platforms because you don't get like a real scope of size.
I
Um,
know.
I saw your profile picture and you looked so petite. And honestly, I mean, I'm looking at your profile picture going, wait, is she 12? You're just like the sweetest
Well,
thing,
thank
like
you. Thank you.
total
Yes,
pocket
I have a
size.
Benjamin Button thing going.
That
Yeah.
works. That works. All I have is my mother going. I look more like my mother every day. And my kids will tell you, wow, you sound like Grandma Jerry too. It's like I'm becoming my mother, and I don't think that's what Benjamin Button strived for. Okay, so let's dive into this. I'm going to turn it totally over to you. I want you to tell us your little Mighty Mouse, amazing 5'2", it just like crushing itself. Who are you?
Who am I? I am Alicia. And I am simply, as so many of us here, I am having a human experience, Kim. A human experience where I hope to leave some type of a mark, even if it's just impacting one person or whether it's, one person or a million. I am here having a human experience, hoping to improve the lives of those around me through the work that I have been called to do. That is who I am.
Are you the oldest, youngest,
I am the
only?
oldest. I am the
Oldest.
oldest. Yes, and I've been listening to your podcast, so I know you're the eldest of your siblings as well. So high five for
High
being the
five.
oldest.
High five.
I
Actually,
call
there's
us I call us the experimental child, right?
yes, we're the pancake. We're the pancake.
Exactly.
It still tastes good. It just may not be perfectly
Yeah, they're
round.
they're still figuring things out, and by the time they get to the other siblings, they've kind of worked things out, right?
And yet the other siblings will say, "Ah, you had it all." I
No,
know that my younger sisters are like, Kim had everything, and it's like, okay. No, I was Kimberly Joe. Sit up straight. You got to be the example. Be the
that's
good
right.
girl.
That's
Yep,
right.
yep. It is interesting though. I was watching a documentary this weekend around the eldest child, the birthday in the first 4 months, all these things that are
Mm,
actually, are biases within, and they're natural biases. So when we look at athletes, you know, uh, something like over 70% of top performing athletes are born in the first 4 months of the year.
wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's all this crazy
Very interesting.
yeah. When's your birthday? Just out of curiosity.
I'm at the end of the year. I'm in November.
Oh, you're a November baby. Oh, so you really had to,
Yeah.
yeah, real like when we
Catch
came to,
up.
yeah, you had a lot of
Exactly.
catch up. So
Hmm.
awesome. You would have been part of that 30% of high performers, right? So that 30% of not in the first 4 months, 30% would rise to the top. So it's just
Mm.
crazy. I was watching this whole thing. So okay, so you totally just threw out all those New York professors talk. Okay. So that's not working, folks. Okay, so walk me through what you do. And we're really going to pull this apart. I'm going to throw some questions at you because there's a lot of interesting statistics going on in North America right now around women in business. And so I want you to
I can't
walk
wait to
me
hear
through.
those.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a really good conversation and I know that we are going to help somebody out there. So walk me through what you do.
What I do is I work with fast growing small businesses. I help them scale with less chaos. So these are existing businesses, not startups. And the reason we work with existing businesses is because these are companies that have tested the waters from a marketing and PR, publicity, promotion standpoint. And they're usually at a point where they are the beneficiaries of great marketing and publicity, promotion, working with people like you, Kim, to help them to provide platforms for them to spread the messages about their products and services. And so what starts to happen is when you are in business, if you look at kind of that business life cycle, hopefully you experience this in your business where you go from that startup phase where you're going from not having enough customers to maybe having too many. And that's when you realize you have to get an operational framework in place. What do we mean by operations? All the not so sexy stuff that's going on behind the scenes that your customers don't necessarily see, but they certainly experience. So it's all about getting your processes in place, making sure you're building your team, getting the right people on the team, having them sit in the right seat on the bus, so to speak, getting those job descriptions in place, your organizational chart, documenting key processes so that when you expand your team, people not only know what to do, but how to do the work so that the products and services that you provide are delivered in a consistent way. So, in a nutshell, that's what we do. And we kind of refer to all of that collectively as business infrastructure. And we have these really cute, cool visual aids that we use, Kim. Things as simple as stick figures and
Love it.
index cards. And you would be amazed at how into this people get.
Oh,
Because, as you
yeah.
know, entrepreneurs, we're both entrepreneurs, we have a lot going on. It's very rare that we have one thing that we're doing and one thing only. So our minds are all over the place. Getting us together in a room to be dedicated and focused on something for several hours at a time is a tall ask. It's a tall order, a
Yep.
huge ask. So I have over the years figured out these very clever ways and tools of kind of drawing people in, and not just drawing them in, but holding that attention so that they can get some of this otherwise very painful things in place in the background for their businesses.
Okay, painful. I love that you brought that up because growth does not happen without pain. It just doesn't. I mean, that's the,
Exactly.
I think
I had that conversation just a few hours ago.
absolutely. Now, okay, so I want to unpack this knowing that we're speaking to female business owners out there. And we know for a fact that female entrepreneurs are only 5% get any type of traditional funding. So these
Mm,
are,
hmm.
and if you are a woman of color, you are less than 2% in the United
Yep.
States.
It's like half a
Yes,
percent actually. I just heard that stat 2 weeks.
really.
It's half of a percent.
So when we're looking at scaling, a lot of women, the average female entrepreneur is making around 56,000 a year. And when you
Mm,
put operations cost in, you're around 30. And then they hit that I have to scale. I have to scale.
yes.
So a lot of these women will turn to virtual employees.
Hmm.
Do you have any tips, tricks, or insights on management of virtual employees so you can continue growing, so you can get more clients, so you can properly fund your business? Because a lot of women are scaling and they're still not properly funded. And they're working. I know a lot of female entrepreneurs who are working 60 hours a week because it's their passion. It's what they're
Right.
good at. And
Right.
they need to be there. They need these.
Right.
If all these women disappeared, we would have this vacuum of talent and passion in the world. So we need them there. How do
Absolutely.
how do we take women who maybe are more nurturers and hands-on and help them transition that into managing virtual teams?
Managing virtual teams. Well, first, it starts with knowing and understanding the importance of delegation. So, which is something I think you were starting to touch on anyway, Kim. A very great exercise is to figure out what is your hourly rate, even if you don't charge by the hour. Figuring out what your hourly rate is, and then kind of taking an inventory of all of the things that you're working on. So, let's say, for example, if you actually calculate what you make or what you want to make, and that hourly rate ends up being, let's say, 300 US dollars an hour. If you are spending a good bit of your time checking email, doing other administrative type things, making copies, photocopies, moving files from one place to another, or digitizing some records, is that really a $300 an hour task? Ask yourself that question. And then when you determine that no, this isn't the best use of your time, you should be spending $300 an hour. You should be spending your time on $300 an hour activities. So once you do decide that you want to start delegating, if you want to work virtually, my entire team is virtual and it's great. We're all over the world, not just the US, but we're all over the world, spread across 3 different countries. My number one suggestion is to get with an outsourcing company. They're called BPOs, business process outsourcing companies. Find one of those or some type of staffing agency that specializes in providing virtual assistance or any type of virtual employee. The reason why I suggest you go through an agency first is so that you can kind of test the waters, get your feet wet, understand the types of time tracking tools that they're using. There are different ways that you can have a certain level or degree of control, even though you aren't necessarily in the same office or in the same room. So work with the company like that first. Get accustomed to the way they invoice. Make sure you're very clear on the scope of work that you need done and that you have ways of tracking performance. And that's usually through some type of metrics. So when I first started working with many of the people on my team, they were all through different agencies. And then eventually we realized, okay, we got the hang of this. We know each other's working style. We know we respect each other. um, I can appreciate the way that they want to work. They appreciate the way that I work. And so eventually, some of them actually have started working for my company, Equilibria, directly. But it's always through an agency first. So I hope that's a tidbit
No,
that a lot of women who are watching this right now will take into consideration. Always look for a BPO or some type of staffing agency that specializes in virtual assistants.
Alicia, would you mind emailing me at some point in time, kind of your three top picks, and we'll make sure that that's
Sure,
in the show notes
sure.
because
Let me
that
make
would
a note
be
of that.
that. And that's another thing, folks. If you have to use Loom or Zoom or anything like that, record a week of your time. I find that sitting down and actually figuring out where I'm spending my time allows me to figure out what I can start offloading. And I think the greatest challenge is like you said, really identifying where your time is going and what you can offset. And the beauty of this is that this is the direct benefit from COVID. Whether or not we want to
Yes.
look at anything positive, the reality is it moved us all into an uncomfortable space. I will tell you that pre-COVID, I could clunk around Google Docs, forms, and all of those. Like
Hmm.
I could generally get around. It wasn't comfortable for me. Now people look at what I'm doing, and I can do a customer journey all the way through all the automation processes and everything. And I'm very comfortable in it. Like I am more comfortable moving around moving information around through Google Docs and all the different Zapier plugins that you can come up with than I am actually now. I think a lot of times sitting face to face with somebody because this has become such a simple interface, and it's that growing pain. It was, I mean, like the first 6 months, and
Oh.
I messed up. I want to tell people flat out, if you're a female out there or anybody, male, female, and you got blindsided uh by the restrictions and everything online, and you're sitting here going, I messed up, or
Hmm.
I dropped the ball. Honey, that was 3 years ago. You are far better today. Call that person, say, "I'm sorry I dropped the ball. How can we reengage and get over it?" Because I've had to give myself this talk. I have to give myself
Yeah, we have
permission.
to. Absolutely, we have to give ourselves grace. And in fairness to us, Kim, there's a quote that I love from the CEO of Microsoft, and it was right at the onset of COVID. And he said, "Think about it. We have had, in terms of digital transformation, we have been expected to digitally transform our operations in 2 months, what would normally take a company 2+ years.
Yep.
And in 2 months, we all had to upgrade, uh, get things to integrate. We probably realized, I know this happened to me. I realized I signed up for the wrong plan and this isn't really what I wanted. And 3 months wasn't enough to really test it out. It was a mess.
Yep. Yep. I get it. I We were spending on Google Suites, business suites. We were at one point in time up to almost $700 a month because we didn't know how to do it. My son came in, cleaned everything up, moved everything around, and we're back to like $170 a month or
Okay,
160
good.
for the because I use a lot. Like
Hmm.
I have so much stuff that's like the amount of storage I consume is incredible. And thank goodness it's not physical. Otherwise, I would need a way bigger house. Um, but so when we look at this, so we're looking at when to scale, the
Mm.
processes to do this. What are the top three things when you go into a new client and you're going to go through this like workshop and you're going to start seeing where everything's at and what are the top three things that you see that people are either missing the opportunity or are being held back by?
A big one that I notice is it's not that they don't understand, they almost always have to expand their teams, but it's so tempting to grab any old person that you see and put them in a seat. So when I said earlier, getting the right people on the bus, first of all, you have to get on the bus, recognize you're driving a bus and you're no longer driving that minivan, you're driving a bus now. You need to get people on that bus, but make sure they're sitting in the right seats. And what that means is just because you have warm bodies around doesn't mean that certain people can do certain things. I'll share a very specific example. This was a food distribution company many years ago. And I'll never forget the owner. He was so excited because he was up for an audit, and he had just hired a college graduate who had a degree in accounting. And so I'm thinking, oh, you're preparing for an audit. It makes sense. You're going to get this fresh, this newly minted accounting student from one of the local colleges here. And okay, that makes sense. And of course, there's going to be some training, some onboarding that has to take place. But then he kept talking, Kim, and he was like, yeah, and maybe he can drive some of the trucks, and he can do this and he can do that. And it was things that were completely outside of accounting. And I said, whoa, 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 wait a minute.
Yeah.
I think as entrepreneurs, because we're so used to just stepping in and
Mm-hmm.
filling in the gap, and rolling up our sleeves and doing literally whatever it takes to get something done, we have that same expectation of other people on our teams. And they're not entrepreneurs. They don't have that same, well, I know I was hired to do this, or I know this is what my title is, but I'm going to go in there but this is what I do, and this is the only thing that I do. So we have to be mindful of that. That is a huge thing that I notice across so many small businesses, and not just small businesses, I would say, even because I do also work with larger corporations as well. So again, it's just being very clear about what you need from the people that you have on your team, and then going out and identifying the other people that you need to fill in the gaps. So that's a big one that I noticed. The second biggest one is not having anything documented. Nothing is documented. It's all up here.
I just started doing that.
It's
I
all
just
up
started
here,
doing
Kim.
that.
And here's the thing. A conversation that I alluded to that I had just earlier this morning. It's a lot of work to go through that process. It is, and that's why we put it off. It's not sexy. It's not fun. It is getting into the weeds. It is getting into the details. And when you talk to us as visionaries, as CEOs, as entrepreneurs, we're up here. We're at the 50,000-foot level. We're strategic. We're big picture thinkers. We don't want to get back on the ground level and think of every single thing that has to be done, every T that has to be crossed, every I that has to be dotted. But it has to be done, because otherwise you run a greater risk when you hand that body of work over to someone else. You run a greater risk of it not being up to the standards that you've set. And we want to make
Yeah.
sure that we never compromise quality, right? This is why
Yeah.
our customers and our clients come to us in the first place, because they have a certain expectation about the experience that they will have. And if they don't have that, it's our fault, because we probably haven't documented anything.
Exactly. And I am the worst. I have, just so you know, I would love for somebody to come and just organize my email. I have like 4,000 emails sent. I am like
Oh,
the messiest person. My not me, every pile has a purpose, but it's because I work in three verticals. I'm doing three things at a time. And I'm just now starting to document, because I've had people come and go, and how do I do this? I've had too many people go, how are you doing your podcast to where you're getting 15 SEO hits off of every podcast? Like, how are you doing this?
mm.
I've had too many people come to me and go, Do you have script for that? Do you have script for that? Do you have this? Do you have that?" And I'm going, and then I'm sitting here going, "Well, I think I'll just make a SaaS product. I'll show you how I bucket it, how I move it." Now I have to go back and break down and bring it all back together in order to create a SaaS product that can help entrepreneur podcasters, right? Not
That's
entertainer
great.
podcasters, but entrepreneur podcasters, entrepreneurs that want to utilize their voice to connect through a SaaS product. I mean, Canva, look where Canva started. They were like $9 a month, right? Netflix was $9 a month. All these things were,
Mhm.
so if I could go in and make somebody else's life easier for $9 a month, but it took me going back and
Yeah, and it's
breaking
not.
it all down.
Yeah, and it's not easy because
Yep.
think about it. You already have the work that you're already doing. And
Yep.
you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to carve out the time to actually get this information out of my head? Things that I know and that I know like the back of my hand. And how do I document it in a way that if I hand it over to someone else who's never seen it before, who's never done it before, that
Yep.
person within reason can produce the same result. That's not a quick,
Yep.
easy thing to do. And I explain that to a lot of entrepreneurs. It's like, yes, you've already put in the work. God
Yep.
knows you've put in the work, you've put in the time. You're going to have to put in a little bit more now
Yeah.
just to get over that hump as you start to delegate, because you can't just leave people to their own devices. You can't just let them roam freely, because who knows
Yep.
what will happen, right? So it takes even more of your time that you already don't have a lot of, just to get those pieces in place. But once you do, paradise is just on the other side. I promise you it is. I'm
Well,
going through it. I'm going through it myself, and I have to just keep reminding myself,
it's
I know that it will get better. I just have to get through this right now.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's not for the weak. It's not for the
No.
weak. One of the tricks, I'm going to give everybody one of my tricks here. Zoom. Get the upgrade on your Zoom account and turn it on, and you can actually Zoom and you can do your audio with your screen and go about your day and record your day. Then shove that over into Otter, which is a transcription service. You get X amount of words for free, and start transcribing it and create your book. So
Yep.
that's literally how I have been documenting everything is through Loom and through Zoom. Loom and Zoom have been my BFFs for the
And
last.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think when people think processes specifically, they think back, the old school method, the
Yeah.
operations manual that's in the quilted binder, that's in that beautiful bookcase that's behind
Yeah.
you, Kim, and then it just collects dust. No one ever sees it. It never gets updated, because the thought of updating it is just like, oh my God,
Painful.
it's a Herculean task. But yeah, or get your phone, grab your phone,
Yeah.
press record your audio. And to your point, I use Designer. That's what my team and I use. You use Otter, we use Designer.
Yeah.
um, but I think it works very similarly, where you have an audio file or you have a video file, you
Yeah.
upload it into these other transcription type programs, and there you have it. And you do some cleanup, because it might not be
Yeah.
100% accurate, but the point is, you don't have to just start from scratch and get behind a keyboard and just start thinking, okay, step one, I do this. Step two,
Yeah.
I do, so forth and so on.
Well, and with the new AI Chat GPT, which I've used for several things now, you can actually take that transcription. You can put in, write me a procedural manual with, and then you put all of that transcription in there, and it will actually go in and help organize that step one, step two, step three, step four. So the AI is out there to help. Um,
Absolutely.
don't be afraid of it. So there's one other thing I'd like to tap into before we move on to the last kind of the wrap on the show is we talked about um, employees won't, and they don't how most entrepreneurs go into business because of proficiency and passion,
Mm.
and it's you may be willing to put 60 or 70 hours in your chair because you're really good at it and you're incredibly passionate about what you're doing. However, employees aren't going to have that same thing. How does a growth minded entrepreneur get past almost that disappointment or that hurt that not and this is a very real
That's true.
thing,
That is very
especially
true.
especially for women, and we're here to solve the world's issues. I mean, what I tell people, I said, "Did you realize that the fire escape was invented by a woman?" The lifeboat was invented by a woman. We come in and we see the challenges, we see the gaps, and we create the difference. And see, yeah, Edward, you're right. Having
Having
expectations.
expectations. Hey,
So can
Edward.
so can you tell me some things that we could do in a mindset or a practice or maybe conversations we could have with other entrepreneurs who are in the same boat? What are some of the things that we could implement to help us move beyond the expectations that everybody else thinks our baby is as beautiful as we do?
I know, I know. That's a very difficult thing. I think for me personally, it was less about that and more about attracting people who like to learn. Because with I always tell everyone that I ever talk to, whoever expresses an interest in joining our team, one thing I can guarantee you is that you will never be bored. You will never be bored. No 2 days are ever the same. But seriously, if you like to learn new things, you'll make it here. And here's the other thing, the underlying message of that, Kim, is if you like to learn, there's passion in that. And before you know it, I know there's some people on the team who definitely work more than 40 hours a week. I know that. They
Yeah.
don't always tell me, but I can tell. But it's not because they are doing rogue, just going through the motions of performing certain tasks. It's because they've found out about another technology and it might make what they're doing easier, better, more efficient, more streamlined. And they're curious. And because they
Yeah.
have that underlying passion for learning new things, they're putting in another 10 hours, unbeknownst to me. They're putting in another 10 hours just to learn that new application. And then by the time, before we know it, a couple of weeks later, they're coming into a weekly team call and they're saying, hey, everybody, I found out about Jasper.ai. This is a true story. This actually happened. And it's like, what is that? Oh, it's so cool. It can take your ideas and it can create a book. It can create this. You can create a video. You can create a blog post.
Yeah.
Really tell us more about it. So that's what I mean. When people, I think there are ways to impart passion in the people that you are working with. It just may not come in the same form as your passion. And I think once you start to understand that, that it's not that people aren't passionate about what they do. They just might express it in a different way, or it may manifest itself in a different way. But you have to, eventually you do have to come to terms with that. And another thing I want to say really quickly, for those of us entrepreneurs, we have to have a very honest conversation with ourselves and recognize when we may be getting in our own way. So what we may misinterpret as passion sometimes is it's really at a point in our business where we need to bring other people on
Yeah.
who are at the same level of us or higher. I'll share this really, really quick story. I remember watching this documentary called Something Ventured. It's about the rise of the venture capitalist industry. They interview the person who invented PowerPoint. And he said something so profound. He said, we were doing really well. We were doing really well. But then we reached a point where I realized me, as the founder, owner, inventor of this software, I could only take it to a certain level.
Yeah.
But I knew, because I was not only passionate about the product itself, but because I had the vision and knew that it could be something even bigger, I realized I was not the person to see it to that next level. So yes, I sold the product to Microsoft, and look at where we are now. Who doesn't
Yeah.
know Microsoft PowerPoint? So that's another thing I think we have to come to terms with, is at what point, how far can we,
Yeah.
as the person who started this, who gave birth to this baby, how far do we get it to the point where, he or she becomes 13, like a preteen? Can we get them all the way to teenage status? Or can we see them through to adulthood? Maybe we can't. And that's another conversation. So it requires a great degree of introspection, I think.
And I think being very real. I think that
Absolutely.
we can get lost in the sauce when it comes to our product or our service, and we are excited and we sit in a silo, that echo chamber of all of our friends and family telling us how awesome we are and da da da. And sometimes getting out there and saying, okay, this is as far. And if I truly want it to live or I truly want it, I have to either bring this person in, attract the right staff, or I need to find the right avenue for it, right? Let's talk real quick resilience. That without a moment of deep resiliency, you wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Ooh. Ain't that the truth? Oh, you want me to share a moment of resiliency? Like a very specific moment?
Yeah, give us success leaves clues. So if you could share with us a moment of resiliency that without that moment, we wouldn't even be hearing from this story, this overview.
Sure, sure. I'll share the book actually. I was at a point in my business where I recognized that it could not scale beyond me. I recognized what my own personal bandwidth and capacity was. And so, in my own attempt to get processes or knowledge out of my head and onto proverbial paper, I decided to write a book. But I cannot take credit for making the decision to write the book. I actually worked with a digital marketing coach. This was the late December, early November of 2017. I hired this digital marketing coach, and one of the first things he recommended to me as an attempt of scaling my own business was to get the knowledge out of my head onto paper. Yeah, I knew that part. I had some processes documented, but he actually suggested I write a book. Didn't think I could do it. And that book it took me 7 weeks to write the manuscript, which is kind of unheard of. Oh, look at that. I love it. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for that beautiful graphic there. Wow. Um, but I had no appreciation, Kim, for everything else that went into having a book go from an idea to
Yeah.
actually a physical, tangible product like you see here on the screen. No appreciation for it at all. And I have to tell you, I had to make a decision. I found, and maybe some people aren't this way, but for me personally, I found it very difficult to work the business and write the book at the same time. It was almost a mission impossible. So I had to make the decision to kind of put things on hold for a bit with my business, focus on the book. And here's what happened. As I was writing the book, as it was going through the whole process of being prepared for publication, that same digital marketing coach suggested doing a podcast. And again, I was thinking, no, I can't do a podcast. What would I even talk about? I don't have enough to talk about. Well, here we are almost 4.5 years later, and the podcast is still going. Resiliency, when it came to the book, and this is by no means an exaggeration, it truly was a turning point. It changed everything. There's something he said to me, and I want to leave this with your audience as well. He said, Alicia, people need to have a piece of you.
Hmm.
They can't do that right now. Yeah, you have a website. Yeah, there's some content you've generated online. It's all digital. They
Yeah.
need a piece of you, something that they can physically hold, even to
Yeah.
feel as though they have a piece of you. I didn't get it at the time. It just seemed like empty words, to be honest with you. But I understand what he means now. I do. Because
Eh,
it's such a great, oh, I'm sorry, Kim.
no, you go ahead.
I'll just say this really quickly. It is such a great feeling when I'm on a call, true story. I have a corporate client that I work with. And whenever he does a conference call, a Microsoft Teams call with the rest of, and these are people very high up in the organization, he always has my book in his background, sitting on the credenza behind his desk. And it just, I can't tell you what that does for me. He has a piece of me. and he can share that with others. And
Yeah.
it serves as a talking point. If anyone ever asks, hey, what's that green book with the lion? Is that a children's book? So I get
Yeah.
it now, and I understand what it means.
And we're fortunate because in North America, so um, getting published is very different around the world. In Australia and in England, it is very different than in the United States and Canada by association. Amazon Author Central with self publishing gives us lots of opportunities. I myself don't self publish, I actually use a company out of the UK just because I'm the last person you want to edit your
Exactly.
work. Trust me. But I'm going
It's
to challenge every woman out there or man or a man. Hey, Edward. We don't want to forget Edward. I'm going to challenge everybody to do this call to action. So if you do not know what a CTA is, a CTA is your call to action. This is what you can leave people. Either it's a magazine, it's a book, it's a quiz, it's something that you can offer people that is an insight to your expertise. I'm going to give everybody the fastest almost it's the fastest way to get published. I want to challenge everybody who has a zone of expertise to book a LinkedIn workshop that you will offer for free. And then you will record the workshop start to finish. You will then take that workshop and you will transcribe it. You will move it over into Jasper or into ChatGPT. You're then going to take this book, which is probably going to be around, if it's a half day workshop, we speak 90 words a minute. So you're probably going to be you're quick, Alicia. 90 words times 60. So 9 times 6 is what is that, folks? That is
5,400.
50. Yeah, there we go. So you're probably looking at folks off of a 20,000 word book on
Mm,
your system. And you know what? If you gave that workshop away for free, then you know what? Put that book, finish it off, put it into Kindle, and you can also put pieces of it as your call to action. The most incredible pieces that are like aha moments. And there you go. There you go. I will tell you, people who are looking for speakers at in major organizations and conferences, they are looking on Amazon Author Central, and we are still sitting at 5% of North American adults are published authors. And just so you know, that's 2% higher than England and Australia due to the
wow.
differences in publishing opportunities. So, still, 5%? Come on, folks. Come
Wow.
on. There is, I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. And every opportunity you get to be in what's called a multi author book, most of these are multi author books of like minded industries that typically are half the cost of building out a funnel. And then you don't have any marketing cost that goes with it. Publish and publish often, folks. Publish and publish often. Get yourself a LinkedIn newsletter. Do all these things. And believe it or not, a conversation like this becomes a great magazine article, which I'm going to offer everybody at the end of the day here, because you know people want to know that you're real. And if
Yes.
you have the passion and the propensity for your business, you can do this. Document everything. Meet people where they want to meet you. Is it audio? Is it video? Or is it print? And give them what they want. Because if they want a piece of you, give them what they want. Those are my 2 cents
Right.
on how to get published super fast. And like I said, if you get an opportunity to go into a multi-author book, as long as that person is legit, grab it. It's going to be cheaper than running a funnel on Facebook. Trust me on this, folks. But do get your own book first. Do get your own book first, or somewhere within that timeline. I did the multi-author before I did my own book, and my own book is in process. Because as you can see, I think I'm going to name it "Chasing Squirrels." What do y'all think? Maybe we'll just call it "Squirreling." Because
The
it's
squirrel
always
chaser.
the squirrel chaser, the squirrel wrangler. There we go, the squirrel wrangler. Wrangling squirrels is not for the weak ones. Okay. We have covered so much today. Alicia, you are awesome. You are truly,
Oh,
truly
thank
an
you.
amazing woman.
Thank you so
Please
much, Kim.
tell us all where we can find you.
The best place is probably my personal website. And I only say that because it's kind of like a hub for where you can
Mhm.
find out all things about me. And that is AliciaButlerPierre.com. And there you can see links to all of my social sites. You can get a link to the podcast, a link to my company, which is Equilibria, and find out about some uh, adjunct professor stuff that I do, like all things about me. You can find it there at that one website.
Amazing. All righty. Now, close us out with an inspiration, a quote, whatever is grabbing your soul today that you can share with other people to help them move on in case they're not having the best today.
Well, you said my personal mantra already, which is leave it better than you found it. But I would like to leave everyone with this as well. And it kind of ties into something you were just talking about, Kim. The three R's. When I was growing up, I always heard reading, writing, arithmetic. Apply the same thing to you in whatever your profession is, even if you aren't an entrepreneur. Read something every day. Read something every day, whether it's a Harvard Business Review article, New York Times article, a blog post, something, a LinkedIn newsletter. Read something every day to advance your knowledge. Writing, write something every day. This is how you get good at your craft. Reading, writing, even if it's
Mhm.
just for 30 minutes, write that LinkedIn newsletter, write that blog post, write that long form social media post on LinkedIn or Facebook. Write something every day. This is how you get good at your craft. And then let's see, reading, writing, arithmetic, measure something every day. How are you measuring success? Is it in the amount of things that you were able to accomplish in the day? Is it financially?
Yep.
Read, write, reading, writing, arithmetic. So read something every day, write something every day, measure something every day. And that is how you advance yourself toward whatever your goals are and however you define success.
There you go, folks. Right back to school. Right back to school. And you know what? At the end of the day, give yourself grace.
Give
Give
yourself
yourself
grace.
grace. And Edward, I think Edward's going to be my new best friend on LinkedIn. I'm loving this guy.
And I see
Chasing
that
Squirrels,
question.
Life of an Entrepreneur. I'm
We love
thinking
that, Edward.
that's my book. And they're going to be pink squirrels. I think I'm just going to have psychedelic pink squirrels because that's my color. Okay. You know what, folks? Awesome conversation. Super excited. It's always great to meet a kindred soul. And you know what? That's what we got here today at Kim Talks Resilience. You know what? Feel the energy, lean in. If you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging a bit, do listen and lean into our resilient community here. You can go to resilientgift.com. That is resilientgift.com and sign up and get like notifications when all the magazine comes out or when new podcasts are happening or when we're doing a live event, virtual, of course. You know, it's all there. So do lean in and remember, give yourself grace, go back to school, reading, writing, arithmetic, know your numbers, ask for help, scale up. And you know what? Know that somebody in this world needs you. They need your service, they need your knowledge, they need you to show up. So I'm going to challenge you. Show up today. Until next time, Kim Hayden here at Kim Talks Resilience.